time, that was one of them. That's a value thing, right? Not having value for other people's time, perhaps, or other reasons for that. Did the role play going okay? Yeah, it was fun to role play like this.
Yes.
There's some other things like I've heard all this stuff before. I'm bored. Yeah, I mean we have students who come like, oh, I grew up in the church. Like it's just more stuff, right? Like these are things that you might encounter that are values or they're value-based things that you can work through. I'm having difficulties engaging in the group. I don't like the speaker. Why do we have to read in groups? Yeah? Right?
There was the question last night.
It's the question. Right? What's the value? Right? So if you need to know, right, what's the value behind reading in a group? Maybe the value is like, look, you guys, you had your whole life to read your Bible and you didn't. So now you signed up for group work. You know? Like, you're here.
A little more grace.
A little bit more gracefully, of course, but I mean, the reality is why, if you really like reading by yourself, why didn't you read the Bible by yourself? Do you know what I mean? Like, you signed up for community group-orientated school. There's a value that we're trying to teach. There's a value we're trying to understand. So there's reasons for everything, right? And so asking questions to draw the person out and help them to discover what is the value? Why do we do it this way? Help give understanding for values, Not like, well, why do I have to show up to the meeting? So because that's part of your school. That's just like really rule-based, right? Well, you have to because we have to fulfill so many hours of worship. So you have to show up for worship. Yeah, okay, that doesn't communicate the heart of God. What's the value behind worship? Right? What are you having a problem worshiping God? No. Okay. Well, maybe there's a perspective and a shift. There's a value. How do we lead people to the value and really draw them in? And that's why we got you to practice with some of these things, because we remember as a staff, you're drawing people to the values, not just like, well, you need just to get it sorted in your life, right? You know that's wrong. But drawing out what are the values? What are the principles? How do we want them to long for the truth, not just like, oh, here's the truth, and you're not doing it, so you're guilty, right? So drawing people out, and that's what Anna's talking about with all these values, right? We want to be these kinds of people. How do we draw people to that? I mean, if people are attracted to your hunger for God, then they'll want to know, hey, how did you get there, right? How do we draw them to those things? Okay, and so that's what this exercise was for. Let's feedback. What were some of your experiences with this? Was it difficult? Was it easy? Why not?
I think one of the more difficult ones was once you found out the problem, that you want to just go right into giving them a solution.
Yeah.
I think that was hard.
Yeah. Anybody else feel like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do we generally, but why do you too? Why do we feel like we need to do that? Any thoughts? Because I do that too. Like I want to just fix it.
Well, we want to help them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're here. We want to help people to grow.
Right.
But we think we have the right answer when we don't always.
And it's possible we know, right? And that's not wrong to share. But what if the person just want to be heard? They just want to be listened to. They don't actually want you to fix it. They just really need to be heard. And having somebody hear them is more significant than trying to fix it, right? So sometimes we can help or suggest, but also times I think you guys are really smart yourselves, and you know that if somebody just asks you questions, you can figure it out, right? If somebody leads you through the process, you can, and then you own it so much more. Yeah. Good. What else? Other feedback?
So my role play was with Jenny, and we have relationship like friendship before, but I'm just imagining what would have happened if this was with a new person that I don't really know. And so that person could have totally misunderstood my questions, my motives behind it.
Right.
And I could totally assume things. And I'm like, how do I address it in a situation where I haven't really built a relationship with this person?
Yeah. So that's important to think about. How do I actually help people when I don't really know who they are? I don't know them. Yeah? How do I establish that? Good. Those are great thoughts. Good questions. What else?
I just use this time to know him more because I may don't have a ability to figure it out what he has to struggle, but just I want to just help with him, and if we can make it, we can help and we can share.
Yeah.
I think the development is growing from this phase.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You have to make a connection somewhere. Yeah, and that's hopefully we're doing that with everybody, not just our small group, not just people that we feel naturally attracted to a little bit more comfortably, but we're actually modeling as staff, how do we connect, how do we relate, how do we engage with everyone. Yeah, that's good. Very good, helpful. Let's not wait till the one-on-one to do that.
And one-on-ones will be every.
Yeah, so because minimum, and again, always wanting to excel in what we do, but minimum, we want to try and meet with everybody at least once every other week. So it's very important. This is discipleship. I would, if you have the capacity and opportunity to meet with everybody once a week, of course, why not? Just check in, see how people are doing. Let's continue on where they left off from DTS. But also we want them to be learning how to grow and process. And so, but do not let it go past every other week. Because actually that is a requirement for the university. That is part of our
university requirement, not just a base
No,
requirement.
not just a base requirement, not just a school requirement. This is because we actually value discipleship in all of our training programs. The university has a value that we check in and we meet with each other on a one-on-one discipleship basis every other week. It's a value we hold, right? We value the individual, we value their process, we value discipleship. And so that's actually where that boundary came in. And so those are our boundaries for that. Good. Any other thoughts on processing, one-on-one, value?
One thing I noticed with Greg, I had the problem or whatever, and then during the questioning, he put it back on me, which was something I didn't expect as like the student role. He's almost like, I'm kind of sharing my fear or whatever my problem was. I don't remember what it was. And then he was just like, well, what do you think like you could do to like help this situation instead of like, so actually I have to start thinking about it. And then I was like, oh, well, I could go talk to my leaders like this, not around the small group, and tell them that I have an insecurity of sharing in front of people and like working with them like that.
Right. Great. Yeah. That's such a helpful thing is asking them, what do you think? Because maybe we've never thought of it. That's so good. Good modeling. Other helpful things you saw in others? I didn't do it, so
Yeah, I think Youngbeck actually modeled it really well. He was just really trying to be just relational, just kind of hear how things are going. He didn't go into it even like trying to figure out the problem, which was kind of what the assignment was, but he just kept it super like relational. How are you doing? Just so you know, like this is like a safe place. You can totally, feel free to talk to me about anything. I'm available. And so I was like, well, trying to get to my problem,
But you wanted,
really good,
right? You wanted to share the problem then. You were like, oh, this is my problem.
Totally.
This is great.
It was a great model because he was just like, it was very informal.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we're too formal, we're trying to be like, okay, like let's figure out what's wrong with this person. Obviously the assignment was that, but it was a great model, just being relational and make himself available and saying, hey, I'm here for you.
Great. Awesome. Good. Great. Other things that you can help. So any feedback for each other. What was a really great thing that, like my one-on-ones, this is what I try to do. Maybe you guys can give some input because we're all learning from each other, right? I don't have the corner on one-on-ones. Things that you guys like to do, things that are helpful, maybe for you, for others. How you found?
I think the biggest thing, we mentioned it earlier, but it's like, I was in a seminar once and they were talking about humanitarian aid, and they said that the worst thing that you can do for people that are poor and third world nations is just dump food on them and just give them food and walk away, because that speaks to their habits, right? That they stay in their victim mentality, so they just want the food and it looks good on in the news. You gave them a bunch of food, everyone looks good, they're full, you feel great about yourself, but you're actually feeding their habits of not really coming out of their victim mentality.
Right.
So it goes the same way, the whole thing like teach a man how to fish rather than just give them a fish. When you're talking to a one-on-one and they have a specific problem and you give them advice to fix that specific problem, they walk away from the one-on-one feeling great because they fixed the problem, but then the pattern is just going to rise in their life. So the thing is to see past the problem, see the pattern, and then give them the tools to overcome the pattern, because the next time it comes up, they know how to get themselves out of it.
Awesome. Yep. Great. Thanks. Other input. So we got relational, we got helping them to think it through for themselves. What were some other things that we can do? Make people feel safe, not just focus on the problem, right? But them as a human, as an individual.
I think also practically when you take them out of like the familiar context, like maybe off campus or something like that, just breaks down even more of being too formal. That we're doing this one-on-one and we're here. And I know that not all of us have access to a transportation, but even just to walk down somewhere and just being able to spend time and not feeling like, okay, I have 1 hour.
Yep.
I have to get this in, and then I have to go to the next thing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I think that also the aspect of like actually talking to them outside of a one-on-one setting.
Yeah.
Like, I actually think of that, I guess, because in my DTS, my one-on-one never talked to me except for when I was in a one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And I just sat there, and I wouldn't talk to them because I thought, do you know what I mean? Like, so it's making sure that we're valuing
Relationship.
and there's that,
It doesn't mean you guys have to be chummy.
No, and it doesn't mean you have to be best friends because, I obviously eventually got out of that towards the end of the school because the other thing was I thought she didn't have anything to offer because she was so different than me. Do you know what I mean? And you can kind of think that people have to have gone through something to actually help, like, talk you through stuff, which isn't true at all, right? And we're just completely different people. And so I totally just shut off as well, personally. But being able to relate and on a just a person level, we're all people. And we're all actually have a common basis as well, is that we all love the Lord. And we should be able to relate on that level. Either if it's somebody we feel like we get along really well with or not, if that makes sense.
Yep. Great. So emphasizing again values versus rules, relating humanity, making people feel safe, maybe taking them outside, helping them discover how to fix it for themselves so that they can do it next time. These are all really great things for one-on-ones, and we just wanted to practice this again because we're just getting warmed up and getting ready to do it again. And so it'd be a great opportunity for you consider maybe if you feel like I was not very good at this, or I need help, or I need some further instruction on how to do this better, just catch Angie, Andrew, Chris, these guys. They want to be able to give you input in that because we want you to feel secure. So that's why we're doing these little mini exercises, and we'll keep doing more exercises. We want you to feel confident. We want you to feel equipped. We want you to feel empowered. We want to hear from each one of you. As well, tips and tricks and things that, not tricks, but you know what I mean, like tips that we can contribute for each other, because we are going to set the standard for what community looks like. And as we connect with each other, as we learn, man, what Greg said was so good, or wow, I really loved what you said about this, or I'm connecting with you in these ways, then we can help each other out in some of these things. And we also know that there are other, we can lean on each other as well, and showing how this community begins to form, how we can model this, how we can help one another, how we can grow. Because some of us have more experience than others, that's okay. Let's utilize that. That's fantastic. And because some of us don't have experience, you have fresh eyes. And we need that too. We need it all. Yeah. And we need each one of you guys in this whole process. And these guys, we need them to lead us and guide us, but we also need feedback, and we need clarity, and we need questions, and we need understanding in all these things, so that it can be communicated well to our students and to everybody, and then everybody's on the same page. Yeah? Cool, great. Do you want to say anything else? Yeah. So why don't we just, is that okay if we just, should I close, or do you want to close? It's almost time. Is it okay?
Communicate tomorrow.
You want to communicate tomorrow? Please. Great.
Okay.
Do you want to do that now before I close and pray?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So tomorrow we're having a